Okay, guys, and we're back with another episode of the Seth Solo Side Quest. I'm Seth from the Lonely Stoner podcast, and this is episode 71 of my side quest. Now, in this episode, we're going to be looking at the fallout from George Kambosos Jr. beating Jake Wylie. When I'm recording this just happened last night, but obviously by the time this video comes out, it'll be a number of weeks after. But a pretty good performance from George Kambosos Jr. All things considered, I'd never heard of Jake Wylie before, so I don't know if this was a good performance from Wylie in terms of what we're used to seeing from him, or if this was an off night for him. It was a competitive fight. I'll be honest, it was competitive. George Kambosos Jr. definitely demonstrated some good defensive boxing at times as well, with some really nice slips and a number of moments when Jake Wylie was just swinging and Kambosos missed. I think early on in the fight, Kambosos was doing a really good job at pushing the pace and stepping into range and throwing these sort of, I don't want to say winging shots, make it sound wild, but they were like hooks and uppercuts and overhands, but they were landing. It was wild, but it was landing, which is all that matters at the end of the day. Are you landing your shots? Are you scoring your points, right? And that's what George Kambosos Jr. was doing in this fight. I think Jake Wylie definitely had his moments throughout this fight. It was definitely a competitive fight. I wouldn't say it was an absolute domination over 12 rounds. Jake Wylie definitely was competitive and definitely was a live body in there. There was moments like more throughout the maybe the latter half of the fight, not latter half, like middle to later half of the fight, where Jake Wylie sort of got a bit more of a second wind and was coming on a bit more and was throwing a bit more punches and landing a bit more, but that only lasted for a couple of rounds. And then eventually there was actually, I think it was a clash of heads. I think that's what the commentator said. That's what it looked like as well. But there was a clash of heads and it actually cut Kambosos open. And you could tell that sort of mentally affected him because even though, I don't know if any damage was done from that, but obviously you're cut, you see the blood. Jake Wylie sort of built in confidence when he saw that and was throwing a bit more and trying to apply the pressure, and it looked like George Kambosos might have been, getting a bit more tired when that happened, but it didn't last for long. And by the end of the fight, George Kambosos had definitely tired a bit. He definitely had slowed down and was, instead of at the start of the fight where he was pressuring, stepping in with power shots, he was trying to do a bit more pot shotting and counter punching later on in the fight, which is a nice adjustment to see. It's the sort of thing that when I'm boxing, I do at times when I'm tired. Take a step back. You don't want to be throwing 4 or 5 punch combos anymore because you're tired. You're going to be sloppy. You might get caught. So let me take a step back, watch the guy, and pick my shots when I want to counter them. And that's what George Kambosos was doing later on in the fight. The jab was working really nicely, and a good win for Kambosos to get back in the win column. I wouldn't say it was a crazy dominant performance, but I don't know the first thing about Jake Wylie. I don't know if this guy was a prospect, if this guy, is a scrub. Like, I don't know. I couldn't tell you the first thing about him, right? But of course, looking at George Kambosos' record, he's got a very good record. His only losses, he had 2 back-to-back losses to Devin Haney. Not 2 back-to-back, or it was 1 back-to-back loss. Or no, 2 back-to-back losses. 2 losses, yeah. 1 loss, then 2 unanimous decision fights in 2022 in Australia against Devin Haney, where he lost. He had the WBA, WBC, IBF, and WBO lightweight titles. He lost those to Devin Haney, got the rematch, lost it again. He then faced Maxi Hughes in a majority decision win, and then lost again to lost the IBO title, and fought for the vacant IBF title against Lomachenko last May, and lost that as well. Got TKO, got stopped by Lomachenko. So I'm looking at George Kambosos' record now. Typically in boxing, a record of 22-3 historically wouldn't have been looked at too favourably, but the boxing landscape's changing where losses, when you're at the top level fighting against other top level boxers, losses are more acceptable because at this level you're not losing to scrubs. Like, you lose in 2 fights to Devin Haney, unanimous decision, you're no scrub. And losing to Lomachenko, like, you're no bum. You're not losing to Maxi Hughes. You're not losing to Jake Wylie. And of course, he's got a very close split decision win over Teofimo Lopez. I think that's a rematch we've got to see. We've got to see. I think they're probably waiting for Kambosos Jr. to go on a bit more of a winning streak, so that fight can be built up even more. But that's the biggest win of his career, split decision win over Teofimo Lopez. We all know Teofimo Lopez, a seriously talented lightweight boxer. Had loads of the belts. I mean, that's who George Kambosos Jr. won the belts from. He beat Teofimo Lopez for the WBA IBF, WBO, and WBC, and the ring lightweight title. That's who he beat for it. And that was in 2021. Wow, that was that long ago. It makes me feel old now. Because I remember that fight happening. I'm thinking that was just the other year, but no, that was yeah. Chat, we might be cooked. We might really be cooked with that one. 2021. Yeah, that's crazy. But a close fight, that one was a really close fight between Lopez and Kambosos Jr. And I know there was definitely calls for an immediate rematch. I'm surprised that rematch hasn't happened yet. But obviously, Kambosos went straight into the Devin Haney 2 fights and lost them. And at that point, he's lost 2 fights to Devin Haney. You're not really looking for the Teofimo rematch, because if you lose to Teofimo, then you could have 3 losses in a row, and at that point, your career is low key. Your career's kind of cooked at that point. But yeah, George Kambosos is back. I'd be curious to know what you guys think he should be. Who you think he should be fighting next? Does he fight for the lightweight title? I don't think he should. Just beating Jake Wylie isn't good enough to get yourself straight an immediate world title shot. Does he rematch? I mean, surely not. I don't think he rematches any of the guys he's lost to. I'll be honest. I don't think you rematch Lomachenko after getting TKO'd by him, and I don't think you get a rematch against Devin Haney after losing 2 unanimous decision fights against him. Teofimo Lopez fight is his next biggest fight. This is realistically his next biggest fight. So I think that's probably the logical decision to see from him. But obviously, great to see George Kambosos back in the ring, and a great performance, and a testing performance as well. And that performance did kind of show us that he's still got something left in the tank. Not that was ever, a doubt in my mind, because getting stopped by Lomachenko, there's no shame in that, in my opinion. But yeah, we'll see what's next for George Kambosos Jr. Logically, I'm thinking the Teofimo Lopez rematch, but let's see what's next. And that's it from me. Another episode of the Seth Solo Side Quest in the bag, episode 71, and I'm out. Peace.